What's up, guys? Tim Little. Welcome back to TacticalBassin. Today we are talking flutter spoons. You know, I've never really done an in-depth video on flutter spoons. I don't think Matt has either, but they are a killer technique, especially in the summertime, that fall transition. Summer to fall is primarily where I like to fish a flutter spoon. When those bass are schooling up and they're corralling the bait fish, and you're getting the big balls of bait fish either suspended or close to the bottom, that's where this flutter spoon really shines. Now, the action of the spoon itself, you cast this thing out, and I'll show you how to fish it, but you cast this thing out and it flutters down to the bottom. It flashes a lot. It's made to mimic a dead or dying bait fish. I mean, I've had fish eat this thing right off the bottom as it's laying on the bottom. We've talked about it in previous videos, but a lot of these bass that are chasing the balls of fish, the shad or blueback, whatever you guys have in your lake, whatever the bait fish, whatever the main forage that those bass are schooling up in the summertime to the fall time, the bigger ones often are down below the big school, below the little fish that are up feeding on the ball. So when this bait drops down through there, flutters through there, those lazy ones, those big ones, are down there. They're just down there eating that stuff that's falling through. So that's where this flutter spoon really shines. All right, so I just broke off on that anchor rope. I'm gonna rig one for you. You're gonna need some, and just like every video, down below in the video description, I'll link all this stuff so it'll save you some time, but you're gonna need some number 3 Owner Hyperwire split rings. You're gonna need a number 4 Spro Power Swivel. You need some bobber stops and a size 1 ST36 treble. As this flutter spoon is falling down, a lot of times they get that rear treble, but sometimes they eat it from the head. That's why you want to have that sliding stinger hook. Okay, so split ring pliers. Gonna throw this on the stinger hook, and then I'm gonna put this split ring on the swivel. The reason I like running, I mean, you could run this stinger hook just on the eye of the hook itself. I actually like running the swivel on the stinger hook so the hook spins and that fish can't get leverage on the bait. You know, as it spins or rolls, that swivel spins as well, and you get more fish in the boat. They can't get leverage and rip that hook out of their face, out of their mouth. So now all you need to do, grab your main line, bobber stop. This is actually a 6 cents bobber stop. Seem to work fairly well. Slide that up your line. First thing, you want to take that power swivel and run that onto your main line. So now that's going to be free swinging. Another thing I always do on my flutter spoons is I put a swivel on the head of the bait too. So the actual split ring that comes on the bait, a lot of times I'll change those out to owner wire or owner hyper wires, but for the sake of time, I'm just gonna put it on right here. So again, number 4 power swivel. You can go number 2 if you want, a little bit bigger. Now I'm gonna tie this onto the main line. I usually leave my bobber stop about 1 inch up the main line. That gives my stinger hook a little bit of play, so as this bait's falling, it's not necessarily in the way or hanging up on the line or hooking the bait itself. But there you guys have it. That is a 6-inch flutter spoon. Got the owner number 1 ST36 with an owner hyper wire and a Spro power swivel as the stinger. The setup that I'm on out here, this is a steep rock wall bank. Slide over a little bit so you guys can see it. Pretty sheer. It goes from about 2 feet down to 22 feet, and then you have a mud bottom out here. These fish, you got a bald eagle right here. These fish sit off on this edge in the flat. So that's where I like to throw this bait. I don't want to throw it right into the rocks because with all these exposed trebles, they get hung up fairly easy. But fire this thing out, make a nice long cast. And I like to call it walking the bait down. I'm gonna hold it on a semi-tight line. I want a little bit of a bow, and I'm walking that bait down, and you can feel it coming and going as it's falling. All right, we just hit bottom. I'll let it sit there for a second. Hop, hop. Let it fall. Again, I'm walking it down. It's on bottom. Now what I'm picturing a bass staring and looking at this bait fish that's laying on bottom. And a lot of times you'll go to pop, 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 and that's when they'll hit it right on that second pop because it's popping up and taking off, and they're there staring at it and they just react. So it's on bottom, pop, pop. Now how aggressive you do the pops, that's totally up to you. You got to figure out your fish. Sometimes you can just pop, pop, real small on the bottom. Sometimes it's more of a drag. You know, I just pulled it up 5 or 6 feet. Now it's falling. Hopefully you guys can hear in this wind. It's getting really windy, but pull up. I like to take my right hand, my hand that's not on the reel, and I grab the actual bottom of the rod. It helps with that real quick snap and the pull. That way you're not just doing it with one arm. So you reel down, free spool, let it hit bottom. Grab the butt of the rod right here. Pop, pop. Walk it down. Now typically they're gonna eat it on that pop like I said, or the second fish I caught. Pulled up, I went to drop it, and it just stopped. You always have to pay attention to your line on the fall. Just like a weightless worm, it's gonna be a tick or the bait just won't fall. That right there is why you throw the stinger hook. What happened was that fish on the fall sucked it up. Let's make another cast. Walking it down on semi-tight line. Sometimes they'll hit it on the initial fall. It's gonna feel like a jig bite, like a worm bite, a tick. Sometimes they'll knock the snot out of it, but more often than not, it's you either lift up into weight or a little tick. So falling, falling, falling. Just walking my rod tip down. Okay, hit bottom. Reel up the slack. Pop, pop. Walk it down. Pop, pop. And I'll kind of switch my cadence. I'll do a pop, 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 real erratic, quick, or I'll do the pull and let it fall. Again, it's to mimic dying baitfish, so you want to be erratic. You don't want to do the same cadence, the same snap every time. But you'll find which ones they like in your body of water. As far as rods, I like to go with a 7/6 to 8 foot. It helps with the long casts, playing the fish once you get them, and the snaps. You get to pop up more feet of line, so that bait's really moving. This one actually, just like every video, I'll link everything down in the video description. This is the 904. It's actually a swim bait rod. It's a Loomis IMX Pro, but it's a moderate fast, and I think that's the key. That's why I really like this rod. It's not a super fast, it's not a real tippy rod, so when those fish eat it, it loads up almost like a crankbait rod, and at that moderate fast action, it just stays loaded. Now if you're wanting real quick snaps, snap, 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 you're gonna want a little bit of a faster tip. Any of your softer, longer jig rods will work. Reels, I typically throw it on a burner, a 7-to-1 or higher. That way, when I drop that bait down and they eat it, I can reel and set, get to them. Line, I always throw, this is 30-pound braid to a 15-pound mono leader. Mono is really important because I want that line to drag behind the bait. I don't want it, fluorocarbon's a little bit, falls faster, and I don't want it to hang up on that stinger hook or have the hook on the bait. So I run mono, so it's just a slower, mono floats, so it's just a slower fall and keeps that line out of the stinger hook's way. So again, like a 15, 17, 20-pound mono leader, depending on the bait. This is a 6-inch bait, depending on the bait size that you're throwing. Now let's talk about Magnum spoons. This is the Ben Parker spoon. Things like a hubcap. You can see this has 2 meat hooks on there as your stinger hooks. It's getting really windy, guys. I'll cut this short, but again, the same technique. I've caught a ton of 2-pound spots. Don't be afraid to throw this spoon right here for fish in a tournament or just to have fun. This will not just only catch giants. Little fish eat it too, but you do upsize when you throw the bigger bait. Your bigger area you're pulling from. My very first fish I ever caught on this was a 22-pound channel cat, and it was just a war. But typically on this bait, on the bigger, the hubcap, the big 8, 9-inch spoons, I do the pull technique. It's just really hard on the body to try and do the snap, snap, snap all the time. But this thing falls so wide, and you'll feel it in your line. Give and take, and then boom, hits bottom. Pull it up, let it fall. Dunk, and it's on. It's a lot of fun. But as far as gear for the big spoon, you need to upsize your gear. This is the Dobbins. This is the 795. It's a swim bait rod. It's 15 to 30 pound, 1 to 5 ounce. So you need a pretty stout rod to throw these big spoons. They're fairly heavy. I pair that up with a Corrado K, something with the power handle. Again, a burner, 7-to-1, 7/6-to-1, 8-to-1. That's totally up to you. 65-pound braid to 20 to 25-pound mono is what I rig the big spoon on. I'll make a few casts with you and with it and show you what it's like. Walk it down. This is gonna have a real big wide to wide fall, side to side fall. Reel up the slack, pull, let it fall. Again, take that outside hand, that right hand for me, and I put it on the base of the rod. Let it fall. Snap, snap. Let it fall. You guys, if you haven't tried a Flutter Spoon or a Magnum Spoon, go out and get you guys some. They're a lot of fun. You can fish them 5 feet of water, you can fish them in 50 feet of water. Very versatile. Summertime, fall transition, fall time, a Flutter Spoon is gonna help you guys put more fish in the boat. If you guys have any questions, leave them below in the video description. Matt and I will try and get to those. If you guys learned something, hit that like button. Remember, subscribe to our channel. We appreciate you guys. Have a good day.